Love is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. My faith keeps calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. God is calling me, and I am grateful like I've never been before. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful, Jack. Thank you so much. Well, I have the pleasure this morning of introducing our guest speaker, who you just heard her give a beautiful meditation, Reverend Jackie Hawkins. And she told me I could make up anything about her, but I decided no. She told me a little bit about herself. One of the most interesting things I thought was her father was a Baptist minister. And we found out we have something in common. She lived in upstate New York, as did I, but she was there for more than 40 years. And she came back to beautiful Southern California, to San Marcos in August 2019, because she has a son here. She has definitely spoken here before. Her messages are always beautiful. And FYI, in case you didn't know, she was a classmate with our wonderful Reverend Robin at the Unity Minister School. So we are delighted and honored to have her lead us in our lesson today. Please welcome Reverend Jackie Hawkins.
Thank you, Dorothy. Oh, and thank you, Jack. Your music was absolutely perfect, as you will hear as I am speaking, as I am giving our lesson this morning. The title of our lesson, That Divine Space of Unknowing. And I'd like to begin with a poem, as I often do. And this poem is by the Irish poet and teacher John O'Donoghue. And this is the little book where I got the poem. And the title of this book is To Bless the Space Between Us. And if you have not seen this book, it was published in the early 2000s. I definitely encourage you to get it. There are some beautiful poems in it. So let us begin. The title of this poem is For Longing. Blessed be the longing that brought you here and quickens your soul with wonder. May you have the courage to listen to the voice of desire that disturbs you when you have settled for something safe. May you have the wisdom to enter generously into your own unease, to discover the new direction your longing wants you to take. May the forms of your belonging in love, creativity, and friendship be equal to the grandeur and the call of your soul. May the one you long for you. May your dreams gradually reveal the destination of your desire. May a secret providence guide your thought and nurture your feeling. May your mind inhabit your life with the sureness with which your body inhabits the world. May your heart never be haunted by ghost structures of old damage. May you come to accept your longing as divine urgency. Just breathe into that. The exquisiteness of the words. Not only is this a blessing, this is a message to us, to each of us. And I share this poem and blessing with you today, Unity of Carlsbad, which I now call my church home, as a way of acknowledging that more often than not, we find ourselves in an uneasy space of longing to know what's next, right? I don't know if it's an American thing, a human thing, or just a thing, but we want to know what's next, right? Yeah. This needing to know is especially so when something not to our liking or unexpected happens. We've all found ourselves in these situations, whether it's a job loss, or in my case, a garage door collapsing, and it didn't even let me know, didn't have the decency to let me know, just before I was gonna drive out of my garage for my doctor's appointment. Yeah. Or maybe it's something like a loss of a loved one. In each of these situations that I just mentioned, one door has closed and another has not yet opened, right? In these current times of unpredictable change that may appear to be worse than for the better, rather than for the better, it's easy to feel anxious, it's easy to be angry, it's easy to be uneasy. But you know, there's another way that we can be. There's another way that we can respond. We don't know, when we don't know what the next step is, we can step into our innate courage. We can step into that divine space of unknowing, and we can listen. We can listen to the voice of the divine, that still small voice, divine wisdom which is always present to lead us into and through every situation. This wisdom within directs us to a new place of discovery if we let it. It directs us to a new door that is just waiting to be opened. This morning, I will be sharing with you a personal story, not about the garage door again, but another personal story, a longer story. But first, I'd like to say that all of us experience many gentle yet persistent longings to know what's next in our life. We experience many divine spaces of unknowing. Yet rather than listening to our inner divine guidance, our inner wisdom, we often react from the ego, right? I want to know, and I want to know right now. And then sooner or later, we discover that had we simply paused, listened, and paid attention, we could have avoided a lot of distress and stress in our lives. I'm going to next share with you a story from a Buddhist monk. Many years ago, there was a young man who searched for truth, happiness, joy, and the right way to live. After many years of traveling, many diverse experiences, and many hardships, he realized that he had not found any answers for his questions and that he needed a teacher. One day he heard about a famous Zen master, and immediately he went to him, threw himself at his feet, and said, "Please, Master, be my teacher." The master listened to him and accepted his request and made him his personal secretary. Wherever the master went, his new secretary went with him. But although the master spoke to many people who came to him for advice and counsel, he never spoke to his secretary. After 3 years, the young man was so disappointed and frustrated that he no longer could restrain himself. One day he burst out in anger, saying to his master, "I have sacrificed everything. I have given away all I had, and I followed you. Why haven't you taught me?" The master looked at him with compassion, and then he said, "Don't you understand that I have been teaching you during every moment that you have been with me? When you bring me a cup of tea, don't I drink it? When you bow to me, don't I bow to you? When you clean my desk, don't I say thank you very much?" The young man could not grasp what his master was saying, and he became very confused as well as frustrated. Then suddenly, the master shouted at the top of his voice, "When you see it direct." At that moment, the young man was enlightened. In the midst of his longing, the young man had missed many times and for many years the teachings of his master. Had he paused even once and reflected, utilizing his inner wisdom on what he was seeing directly from his master, he could have avoided much distress in his life. Distress that he had created for himself when he was on this quest for truth, joy, and how to live the right way. Well, now my personal story. In the midst of my longing for that perfect ministry, I have have not always taken the time to engage my inner wisdom. I have not. Surprise. There have been many times when I've listened to other folks when they said, you should do this, or you're so good at that, Jackie. Listen to those rather than my own inner guidance. But then over the years, I did begin to engage. To engage in more spiritual practices, deep spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, sacred readings, mindful walks. And as I engaged more deeply and began to listen to the desire of my soul, I began to create. I began to create classes and then teach them. I began to create weekly meditation services and people came. I offered spiritual counseling and folks were responsive. I spoke in churches large and small. Some were New Thought, some were traditional Christian churches, Baptist, Methodist. I taught seniors in a senior center to meditate when they had never meditated before. And they taught me how to have fun like I had never had before. So we danced. Yes, they taught me to Latin dance before we meditated. And then we got so good that we went to street festivals and danced. We danced at rehabilitation centers. We danced at children's centers. We danced for universal peace. And we walked mindfully to continually renew our souls. It was all in divine order. In the divine spaces of my unknowing came wisdom. The wisdom to enter generously into my own unease, to discover new directions, my longing for the perfect ministry wanted to take me. And so in the midst of this flurry of varied divine activity, I realized as I prayed one morning with my prayer partner that I was already involved in my perfect ministry. I was ministering to a diversity of people in a variety of ways. My spiritual practice had become integrated in my daily life. It was an integral spiritual practice that allowed me to engage in my own transformational work from the inner to the outer. And I was assisting others in their spiritual unfoldment. I was in the flow. My listening with intention brought me to new forms of belonging, as John O'Donohue said, in love, creativity, and friendships. And these new forms of belonging were equal to the call of my soul. My soul called me, Jack, to a new level and to new forms of adventure. It opened me to consider adventures in ministry that I had never considered before, including church ministry. That divine space of unknowing encouraged me to listen to the voice of desire within me, even as it disturbed me when I was settling for something safe. And so I tapped into that ever inherent wisdom that we all have. And I entered into my own unease, where I discovered new directions my longing wanted to take me. And so as I longed for ways to live out my spiritual vision, live out my call of the soul, there were those who were longing for me. And I was not aware of it. My longings gradually revealed the destinations of my desire. And church ministry was only one of my destinations. And so, my friends, today, when we tap into the wisdom of our soul, even as we are in that divine space of unknowing, we will create beauty, joy, and happiness in our lives and in others' lives. And in closing, I repeat our message from John O'Donohue. Blessed be the longing that brought you here and quickens your soul with wonder. May you have the courage to listen to the voice of desire that disturbs you when you have settled for something safe. May you have the wisdom to enter generously into your own unease, to discover the new direction your longing wants you to take. May you come to accept your longing as divine urgency. May you know the urgency with which God longs for you. Blessings, my friend. Namaste.